Hello, welcome to Mission Driven Monday. My name is Chantel Adams, and I'm here with Julie McKevitt. Julie and I met in 2014. We had both just started nonprofits, and we're pitching them at an idea competition. Julie's nonprofit was called Paint Love, and it was all about connecting kids with art. And it was a really cool project, and I just got to know her through that competition. We remained in contact, and we started partnering together to do some things at local children's hospital. And I just loved her work and what she was doing. She's very driven and talented, like all the women that I interview here at Mission Driven Woman. She went to University of Miami. You majored in business and dance. And I love that you majored in these two things that seem so different but cool that you were able to put those together. That's awesome. And then you got married to your husband. His name is Aaron, right? His name is Aaron, and they have two kids. One is adopted and a little girl, and then they had another little baby girl. And so Julie is home raising two kids. Now she serves on the board of directors for Paint Love, and I'm excited to interview you today. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor, a treat.
Yeah, good. Well, one of the things that I've just loved about you and getting to know you is that you've done this thing with your daughters where you do this kindness day every week. And I started following it on social media. And it was such a sweet, wonderful thing. And like you said, sometimes you do something really big. I know you made this fairy garden that your neighbors kind of got involved with. And then you said sometimes it's just as simple as writing a note. I know you've made cookies for firemen, just done lots of really interesting things, but I love that you started that early on. So that's just another fun fact about Julie. But I am going to jump into the questions because I know she has a lot of other interesting things to talk about. So I'll jump into those questions, but I did want y'all to know that about her because I just think that one of the most wonderful things about the people that we get to interact with every day is that people are so full of layers. You think that you know them in one area of life, and then you find out that there's just all of these interesting layers to them and things that they do and that they care about. And that's why I do these interviews. So are you ready, Julie?
I'm ready. I got lots of layers to share.
Okay, cool. So every week, I like to start off sort of asking about our past. So when you think about your past and all the things that you've done, what are you the most proud
of? You gave me prep on this one. And I was thinking of the past, it's so easy, particularly with the word accomplishments or what I'm most proud of in high school and college, I killed the academic arena. I'm that's what you can list those accomplishments on your resume. But I think as you grow, it's not as black and white for me as when I was younger of an A or a check mark or an award. Mm-hmm. And really, I think too about what am I proud of? And for me, it's a lot more personal than when it used to be. I would tell you something academic, but or business or career. Yeah. And so I brought this question to my husband because I was like, what would you say? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, I think you would talk about Paint Love. And I was like, yeah. I was like, would you be okay if I talked about our marriage? And I think, honestly, that's the thing I'm most proud of at this point. We've only been married 7 years. But in complete transparency, I talked to my husband about this. Our first 2 years of marriage were rough. And it was really tough. And I think that kind of showed in all areas of my life and Paint Love that I started and kind of how much that can help and how much that can hurt when kind of you have your marriage is not where you want it to be. And I would say, I can't be completely proud of this because it's so much God, it's so much my loving, patient husband, but really just sticking our feet in the ground and holding fast and working to having a marriage that we want has been something I am most proud of. Because I think it's the hardest I've ever worked towards something. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where pride can really come of because it's been a lot of work, and it wasn't, what I expected or what I thought. But I think to have that foundation of joy in all that I do, and Aaron, my husband, has been a huge part in starting Paint Love. He helped me start it, and we fight over who came up with the name, and we both take equal credit, but in a good way. But I think having that strong foundation has helped me blossom in other areas. And so, though it was tough, it's just something that we continue to work on. And I hope when we hit 10 years and 15 years that I can say, this is still, I'm even more proud of where we are. And that's my hope.
It's kind of good that you went through your hard time earlier, because knowing that you got through that, I think it will give you the strength to get through other hard times. I think the hardest thing about going through a hard time, though, especially when you've been married for very long, is that everyone still thinks that you're sort of in the honeymoon phase, right? And so I think it's probably hard to talk about. I know me and my husband went through hard time after we had been married probably like 7 or 8 years. And it was so hard because I didn't want to talk to anyone about it because it was embarrassing. You know, like I didn't want people to know that we were struggling, even though we were. And thankfully, I mean, like you, we got through it. I heard one of our pastors say this year when he was talking about marriage that you're not committed to the marriage, you're committed to the person. And that's eventually, I think, like what sort of got us through. It was that I could say, even though I'm mad at you, I love you. And that was enough.
Yeah. And that helps, of just that daily reminder of like, okay.
Yeah.
I love you. What can we do?
Yes. I love you. So I'm going to keep working on this. I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really good. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think it's something that a lot of people don't talk about, and it is something to be proud of. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's still a work in progress. I mean, I'm proud that we're working toward, what we want.
Yeah. And everything that you love is a work in progress. I mean, you always should be working towards what you love to make it better.
Yeah. And like I said, life is not black and I was very much a black and white person. And I think, as you become an entrepreneur and as you kind of start a family, like there's so much gray area and
yes,
joy and all of it.
Yes, there is. And I think that's good and bad. Like, it's easy sometimes when everything's black and white, because you're like, this is what's true and this is what's not, and this is what's good and this is what's bad. But I feel like living in the gray has definitely made me a more empathetic person and willing to step into people's stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Julie, when you think about where you are right now in the season that you're in, really you still are kind of like young love. You've only been married, you said, for 7 years. Now you have 2 kids, and that's hard in itself when they're little and it's like all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. What are you learning right now in this season?
I like that word season, because it's definitely a season. It's funny. I'm still in the nighttime feeding season.
Oh, yes.
But for me, joy is just that word that I'm really seeking and learning to find. And I'm learning to look at life and the seasons and to really dig deep into where we are. My daughter's 3.5 and my other daughter's 8, 9 months now. And just learning to slow down, get on their level. and I quit Paint Love, which we said I started in 2014. And so for me, it's just a season of focusing on this small few months. And my daughter's going to start like pre-K, 3-year-old, and it's just having this time with them and thinking about the values that we want as a family and really instilling those into the girls while I have them with me, and just trying to find more joy. And I loved Paint Love. I loved starting it. I loved being a part of it. And there was a part of me that was afraid that if I start this, I'm going to lose my passion. And so I'm finding that I actually have some more joy and more passion to give in my life. You know, my life isn't over. There's just this other season. And so I'm just learning to dig deep where I am. And because I know, you know, the time with them is short, and just find joy kind of in a more planted, rooted, which isn't, you know, as glamorous to, you know, what I thought of,
Right.
Oh, entrepreneur doing this, you know, great work that is a little more black and white in honesty of what I saw of accomplishment or pursuing something. This is a little more living in the gray and finding joy in that. And I've found a lot of joy.
Good. Because I know sometimes as a young mom, it's hard because people are always like, oh, you know, enjoy this time. It's so short. And you know that, right? Intellectually, you know that. You just said it. You know it. And people say it because it's true. But I know sometimes it can seem like it's really long. Like, oh my gosh, it's going to be such a long time before, you know, they sleep through the night or they go to pre-K and I have my days back. But like you said, one of the things that I found when I was in that season, and even though I had given up some things that I truly did love as well, was that God filled my heart up with all kinds of new loves and things that I was surprised to find that I enjoyed or loved as well. Like I couldn't have imagined. Like if I had drawn out my life and imagined what it would look like, I wouldn't have written it out like this. But I'm glad that it's like this.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And I think a lot of in this decision of becoming a stay-at-home mom, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear of judgment. There was fear of losing passion or losing identity. And there's just so many things. And that God has filled my heart, just like you said. I love the way you put that you know, those needs and desires are totally full, you know, in this new path that I'm walking.
Yeah. And I mean, I know I talked a little bit about the layers before, but I feel like it's just another layer that you get to add to your life of like experience and like you said, like the season of joy that you'll be able to look back on, you know, every time that you need your heart to smile a little bit, like you'll look back on this time and that will make you happy.
Yeah. And I do want to note, this is a sidebar, that this was just a decision that I made for me and for my family. And I know sometimes there's this, people have all different kinds of opinions of, well, staying at home is best, or doing, you know, working is best. And that's not how I feel at all. You know, I just feel that where I was and where my husband was and, you know, where our daughters were, it was the best decision for me and my family. And I'm grateful for that. But I think there's so many ways to be a wonderful mom or to be a wonderful leader, entrepreneur, or wife, that I want to make sure that that's known too. Cause sometimes people take it as like, oh, staying at home is best. And I think there's a lot of bests. I think there's a lot of great things.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I agree. And I don't think that staying home is for everyone by any means. No. And so I think it's just, I don't know, it's always just an awkward conversation because I always record these on Tuesdays, but I post them on Mondays. And yesterday in the Mission Driven Monday, one of the things that I talked about with the girl that I interviewed was, you know, people used to ask me all the time when I would, you know, they would see me with my kids or whatever, they would be like, are you just a mom? And I used to find that so offensive. Because like you said, there's so many different ways to be a mom, like working and volunteering and doing nonprofit. And I found that you can find meaning and purpose in so many different areas that there is no one right way. It's just everybody finds a different way that fills them up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Okay, so when you look to the future and you look for what's next for Julie, when you think about that aspirational self, tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
I think I'm a very what's next person. So in this season, kind of what I was talking about before, I'm like, okay, keep your feet on the ground tight, which again, it's something I'm learning, something I'm doing. But there's always, and I think there's that little bit of creativity too. And for me, it's trying to, again, keep my feet in the ground with my girls. And I think that wonderful thing of this kindness day that kind of just came out of, one of the reasons I decided to stay at home was, to really, my 3.5-year-old, there was just so much changes going on in her life. And I just wanted to kind of help her get rooted and learn some, lots of values. It's a hard time, and I think there's a lot of things that can be instilled into young kids at this time. And one of those is kindness, and something that we've just been working on every single week by having this kindness day. And there's been a really lot of cool opportunities that have just come out of this. And I would love to see, maybe someday doing something with this weekly kindness day. And people have reached out to me, how can I do kindness day? Or, let me do kindness day for you. And I think that's something that could definitely be explored of taking this idea somewhere else. But there's a lot of things. I mean, I don't know.
You have time for those things to percolate and brew in your brain.
Yeah.
And so you'll be ready to do that when the time comes.
Yeah. So my goal is to get a foundation of wonderful, healthy, kind young ladies in my life. But there's going to be a lot more free time. And I think I want to pursue painting in my free time, and doing some projects with that, and doing some projects with Kindness Day. And I have, to say it out loud, it's really lame, but I too want to write a children's book someday. It's like one of those things where I'm like, I feel like
lame at all. You should.
But there's my aspirational list out there. But right now, just to feel like my daughters feel loved and feel whole, and even if they can't even tell you what the word kindness means, that they will someday be able to demonstrate that to all those around them. That would be great.
That would be great. I love that.
There's a lot, but and that 10, 20 year anniversary with my husband where we could be like, okay, let's high five to this.
Yeah.
We can talk about this, our marriage. There's lots of things out there.
Be proud of what you've done. Yes. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I just love to see people who are leaving the world more beautiful than they found it. And I think that you started doing that through your art, and now you're doing that with your children. And there's just so many ways for that to manifest, and you're making that happen in your life and the lives around you. And it's one of the reasons why I interviewed you today. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. So thank you for joining me for another edition of Mission Driven Monday. And I'll be back again next week with another guest. In the meantime, thank you, Julie. I will post links to Paint Love, as well as to her Instagram, just so you can kind of see some of the things that she has done with Kindness Day. It's really fun. And if there's any other resources that you want me to post, I will do that as well. So thank you, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.